Vietnam, 70% of all infant deaths are newborns in the first month of life, while 80% of newborn deaths worldwide are preventable, according to UNICEF. Vietnamese hospitals have been cooperating with international doctors to help improve neonatal care for years. Today's guest is a woman from Great Britain who has joined this effort for the last 10 years, dedicating her life to reducing neonatal mortality. She has launched many activities, from educational training and fundraising campaigns to bringing world-class doctors to teach for free at hospitals in Vietnam.
Suzanna Lubran came to Vietnam 10 years ago. She found out that the neonatal care system in Vietnam needs to be improved. She established Newborns Vietnam and has been instrumental in establishing the successful neonatal nursing and postgraduate training programs for junior doctors in Vietnam. Newborns Vietnam is dedicated to reducing neonatal mortality and promoting the health of newborns and their mothers in Southeast Asia in general and Vietnam in particular. Newborns Vietnam began in Da Nang and is now expanding to cities and provinces in the north of Vietnam, focusing on the Vietnam National Children's Hospital in Hanoi. Suzanna was awarded by the United Kingdom's Queen the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire for services of reducing neonatal mortality in Vietnam.
And today we are very lucky to have her here for the first time on Talk Vietnam to share more about her amazing journey of neonatal care in Vietnam. Please welcome Suzanna Lubran, Executive Director of Newborn Vietnam.
Thank you.
Hi Suzanna, welcome to Talk Vietnam.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I can see that you have a very interesting choice of dress today. Is it a Vietnamese traditional áo dài?
It's a modern version, and I was inspired to buy it because of the butterflies, which are a symbol, Newborns Vietnam symbol, and it symbolizes the fragility and the strength of a newborn baby.
How did you start your work at the Da Nang Hospital for Women and Children?
At that time, the Da Nang Hospital for Women and Children was still being built, and newborn babies were in an old hospital, lots of babies in one room. And I was invited to lunch with some officials from the city and met some of the doctors from the hospital who were telling me about the plans for the new hospital. And in the way that people do in any country, they say, "What do you do? Where do you come from?" And so I was explaining that I had been working on the design of hospitals in my own country, and suddenly everybody wanted me to talk to them about the new hospital, and that led to helping advise on the design for the neonatal nurseries in Da Nang, and getting to know the doctors and nurses, and people say they really like some help. How do we do things in the UK? And would it be possible to make a relationship between our two countries? They all wanted that opportunity to have professional training from world-class doctors. So an idea was born that we could bring UK to Da Nang.
Mm-hmm. So how was the neonatal care at Da Nang Hospital for Children and Women before you came there? How was it like?
It was very hard. Very dedicated, committed doctors and nurses, but because there were many areas at that time where they did not have specialist knowledge, but also they had very limited equipment, and they had to make very difficult choices about how they used the equipment they did have. So if there's not enough to go around, it's not a decision a doctor ever wants to make.
Yeah. Can you give some maybe specific example?
It's the baby that stays in my mind forever. A little girl, 900 grams. there was no incubator for her. So they instigate the kangaroo mother care. So baby is here on mother's chest. Mother is a perfect temperature for baby, and mother can feel the baby's heartbeat. And the nurses and doctors use this very basic method to give that baby the best possible care. And the way that the nurses would lovingly check that the baby was still in the right position so it could breathe fully, and how that baby bonded with her mother, and the love that flowed, not just from mum, but from everyone in the team. And there they were, keeping alive a baby that it would be hard work to do in our country with every piece of equipment imaginable. And watching that baby's journey to being able to have milk via tube and then to be breastfed. And I went back to visit that little girl when she was 18 months old in her home. And in spite of a difficult start, she was walking and talking and just like any other normal baby. So in a way, that was a baby who made her own fight for life with the most limited care. And it was just incredible to watch. And I think the spirit and the joy of the whole team when that baby went home is one of the most precious moments in my life.
So what changes did you bring to neonatal care at Da Nang Hospital for Women and Children, and how effective are they?
Not me personally, it's definitely a team effort. Well, the opportunity to secure support from the UK to be able to bring back to Vietnam university standard neonatal nurse training for several years. So a team of UK teachers spent nearly 2 years in Vietnam, and they were able to support the nurses to not only care for the babies better, but to fill in the gaps in their knowledge and to empower them to be equals with the doctors so they could be more helpful and more supportive.
Da Nang Hospital for Women and Children marks Suzanna's first steps in Vietnam in the neonatal care training sector. With Newborns Vietnam and Suzanna's help, from 2013 to 2018, a total of 62 nurses in neonatal care in Da Nang City and Quảng Nam Province received certificates from Canterbury Christ Church University. In 2017 and 2018, 22 junior doctors graduated from the UK Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health Level 1 and 2.
Bà đã hỗ trợ cho bác sĩ điều dưỡng những cái lớp học để mà bổ sung thêm kiến thức về sơ sinh và một cái phần là có những cái trang thiết bị bà đã hỗ trợ cho khoa.
Chính cái sự đóng góp đó mình nghĩ những cái kiến thức mà tụi mình có được nó cũng góp phần để mà cứu sống những cái em bé ở đây. Những cái tuổi thai tụi mình có thể cải thiện dần dần, có thể nuôi sống được những em bé non hơn. Thì cái giai đoạn đầu tiên thì mình nghĩ là cái việc tiếp cận và chăm sóc bé cũng là một phần rất là quan trọng mình học được từ các thầy cô.
Apart from neonatal nurses and doctors' specialist training program, Suzanna also called upon individuals and organizations to raise funds and contributed to many facilities for the Da Nang Hospital for Women and Children.
Những cái vấn đề trong chăm sóc trẻ như có một số cái lòng ấp để mình có thể chăm được những cái em bé cực non trong giai đoạn đầu. Cũng như cái vấn đề về chống nhiễm khuẩn thì cô cũng đã giúp trang bị một số cái máy như là cái giấy lau tay chuyên dùng được sử dụng tại khoa. Trong 2 năm trở lại đây thì nó cũng một phần nào đó góp phần giảm được cái tỷ lệ nhiễm trùng.
The management of sick and preterm newborns is complex, and many infants need total parental nutrition fluid. However, a safe total parental nutrition is required to prevent hospital-acquired infection. So, with Suzanna's help, This laminar flow cabinet was set up at the hospital's pharmacy in 2017 to create a particle-free working environment and provide product protection.
Từ lúc mà tiếp nhận cái tủ này thì là toàn bộ cái dung dịch nuôi ăn tĩnh mạch cho các cháu sơ sinh được tiến hành pha chế tại cái khoa dược và thực hiện thao tác trong cái box an toàn sinh học này.
According to Newborns Vietnam's report, over the years, at Da Nang Hospital for Women and Children, there has been a significant reduction in hospital-acquired infection, which is associated with a fall in the proportion of deaths caused by infection. At the same time, there has also been a decrease in the practice to care for preterm and sick babies. All of these achievements mark Suzanna's non-stop efforts.
What brought you to Hanoi?
Well, a combination of factors. I met Dr. Ha from Vietnam National Children's Hospital, and quite separately to that, Professor Colin Partridge from the US, who had been a long-term teacher and supporter of the hospital, had also spoken to Professor Zum, who is the leading neonatologist in Hanoi, and suggested that the newborns program would be very beneficial to the hospital. So the two things came together, and with the outcome was an invitation from the hospital to extend the training, initially postgraduate training for doctors.
So how was that experience working at the Vietnam National Hospital for children? Because it's much bigger than the hospital in Da Nang.
It felt like babies appeared. So in the morning the nursery would be full, and you'd come back after lunch and there'd be yet another baby, and there'd be one coming out the lift, and it was very noisy. So, you know, just the scale and the number of people around. So it was a bit of a baptism of fire for the first few months, you know, and getting used to the very low staffing levels in comparison to what we are used to, and by comparison lower than Da Nang. So just how demanding the day was for the staff.
So what changes did you bring to the hospital in Hanoi?
The changes are difficult to see because it's about teaching doctors to work in a different way, to use the knowledge that they have. How do you systematically apply your knowledge to the baby, consider all the evidence, and then come to a diagnosis, and then how do you plan to deliver the care for that, and what might you anticipate could possibly happen, and how will you be looking ahead to that? So that's quite difficult to see, but it's the thing that improves the outcomes for most babies, that doctors learn to work in a consistent way, and watching incrementally doctors be able to manage a baby with a very complex condition in absolutely the right way to get that baby safely through its illness. Newborns outcomes are about building the future generation of neonatologists in Vietnam and enabling them to build the next generation.
The Newborns Vietnam Neonatal Postgraduate Training for Junior Doctors at the Vietnam National Children's Hospital in Hanoi was launched since February 2017. It is part of a 5-year strategic plan goals in the period from 2017 to 2020 of Newborns Vietnam to support improved outcomes for premature, sick babies and their families in Vietnam. During the last 2 years, about 30 neonatal junior doctors in Hanoi received the training, raising the level of their knowledge about the neonatal care and their ability to provide high-quality care for preterm and sick babies.
Thì mình học được rất là nhiều, học được cái cách người ta tiếp cận bệnh nhân, cách người ta chẩn đoán, người ta điều trị như thế nào theo một cái tiêu chuẩn của phương Tây. Thế thì đấy là cái được lớn nhất của chúng tôi khi mà có tổ chức Newborn Việt Nam. Trong 2 năm qua thì tỷ lệ những cái bệnh nhân nặng, bệnh nhân khó mà được cấp cứu đúng, xử trí kịp thời, cộng thêm là những cái tham khảo ý kiến từ các cái chuyên gia hàng ngày thì cái tỷ lệ bệnh nhân được cứu sống tăng cao rất là nhiều. Cũng như là những cái chăm sóc từ những cái nhỏ nhất thôi cho sự phát triển của đứa trẻ thôi thì chúng tôi cũng thay đổi rất là nhiều, cải thiện rất là nhiều.
For the last 2 years, this small room welcomed around 40 UK volunteer neonatal consultants, providing both junior doctors and nurses training programs.
Chúng tôi là trung tâm hồi sức sơ sinh của toàn bộ khu vực phía Bắc, cho nên bệnh nhân nặng nhất từ các nơi là sẽ chuyển về đây, và có thể nói là cả Việt Nam luôn. Ở đây đã triển khai những các cái đào tạo cơ bản cho cái hệ thống sơ sinh của Hà Nội, và đặc biệt là các cái bệnh viện mà được nhận các cái đào tạo, ví dụ như Bệnh viện Phụ sản Hà Nội, rồi Bệnh viện Sanh Pôn, rồi 5 bệnh viện địa phương của Hà Nội cũng đã được nhận đào tạo cơ bản. Thế và bắt đầu triển khai ra các cái tỉnh, ví dụ như Lào Cai, Hòa Bình, và đặc biệt khác với Đà Nẵng nữa là chúng tôi làm việc cùng Newborn Việt Nam với Bộ Y tế để với một cái cách là đào tạo chính thức để đưa các cái chương trình đào tạo về hồi sức sơ sinh cho cả Việt Nam theo cái chương trình của Bộ Y tế.
To help us better understand the scope and significance of Suzanna's support in neonatal care for Vietnamese children at the Vietnam National Children's Hospital, we invited to our studio today Dr. Trần Thanh Hằng, who is working very closely with Suzanna and receiving training support from the program Newborns Vietnam is launching. Hi Hằng, thank you very much for joining Talk Vietnam today.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here alongside with Suzanna.
Yeah. As a receiver of the training of Newborns program, can you share more about what you've learned through the program?
We are very lucky that 2 years ago, with the support from Newborns Vietnam, we received an official training program from UK with a UK standard and with the doctors, the consultant from UK. To be honest, this is like an experience like no others, because we have been able to be working with them like in every single day, in every single case. We discuss together the baby situation, learn from them, and then have a plan for individual patients. So not only us, but the patients, they received a lot from this training program.
What change in practice have you witnessed, and how benefits did it bring to the newborns?
We have changed a lot, like the use of antibiotics. We use like less strong antibiotics and we are feed the babies much earlier with breast milk, and we are now also working with the support from Newborn Vietnam in the path to develop our own breast milk bank. So the newborn's baby, they can benefit from having breast milk from the first days of life. We have changed also the practice in like kangaroo mother care. Before, all of our patients are completely separate from their parents because they are so sick. But they also help us realize that the bonding with the family is one very important factor that help the babies getting better and recover. And also it helps the parents as well. Newborns Vietnam, they help raising funds so we can buy like an armchair for the moms to come and hold the baby skin to skin for like a few hours. And actually it helps a lot for the babies, especially for premature babies. It helps them breathe better and eat better and growing better, and they can be discharged from the hospital much earlier.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. So how is the friendship between you and the doctors, the Vietnamese doctors, and Suzanna growing over time?
If you happen to be in our unit, that you can see that we have the lights on 24 hours a day. It's very noisy, it's very bright, noisy, but with Suzanna's pointing out and help us realize that that condition is not good for a small baby. We should reduce the noise, we should reduce the light. Yeah, and now we even have like a quiet time every day. 1 hour of quiet time at noon time. So that is the time for everybody to be silent, and the baby, they can have the time. And I have to say that is very important for a newborn baby.
Yeah. A question for you both. What do you think make Newborns Vietnam stand out from other organizations, similar organizations?
Do you want to go first?
What makes us different?
Yeah, different.
The subject is too complicated, so what makes us different is we're here for the long term, and whilst the 2 to 3 years training is needed for the level and complexity of the medical care they are delivering. So probably what makes us different is it's long term, and we're here every day, and we don't go away. So that's probably the biggest difference.
I agree with Suzanna that what makes newborn different is that we feel like they are one of us. They understand us. They understand what we need, and they understand the knowledge gap that we have in practical, in like the thinking pathway, in applying the knowledge that we have to our practical, and how to work like in a logical way, and how to work in a standard way, like in UK. Newborn Vietnam gives us a different vision. It gives us the confidence that one day we can provide like an equal quality to our children, like in Western country. And that is the visions that we are all looking forward to.
Thank you so much for your perspective. Apart from bringing prestigious doctors and pediatricians to Vietnam and providing free training to raise the capacity and standards of neonatal care in Vietnam, Suzanna understands that to help more children, she needs to involve more stakeholders from society. It's very important to have more modern equipment and machines to raise the quality of the treatment, but equally important to have specially trained doctors and nurses. Suzanna came up with a very smart way to raise funds and awareness at the same time. It is through her sports platform.
Ready? Right, so we're going up to the top and we're going to go round to the right. Yep.
Over the years, through sports, thousands of people, companies and foundations are continuing their participation in running and cycling events to raise funds.
I did do a 500k ride. I trained, really hard. I was fat when I got there. Probably, as a group, there was over $100,000 raised for charity that time.
Once you have a chance to visit the hospital where you see a very small kids have to really fight to survive, I'm sure that every one of you will really recognize that you want to do more for the kids, for the Vietnamese kids. Suzanna and her team coming from the UK And why they help Vietnam? Something asked question, why Vietnam? She answered simply that I come here, I think that's the right thing to do.
Can you share more about your fundraising activities using your sports platform?
When we started Newborns, we had absolutely no money. And there are so many good causes in Vietnam and lots of NGOs. So we had to find a platform that was uniquely Newborns. Otherwise, we would be taking money away from other charities. So we started with the crazy idea of having a cycle ride. And we asked UK cyclists nearly at professional level to come and cycle from Lao Cai to Da Nang. Unfortunately, we had a heat wave and we were slightly worried they'd all die before they got to Da Nang. And that began a process of people thinking sport can transform lives. Increasingly, from being all overseas cyclists, it is now nearly all Vietnamese cyclists who challenge themselves to raise money through their sport for newborns. So that grew into running, and through the amazing commitment of many Vietnamese companies, something was born called the Up Race, which in the first year, in 2018, had something like 30,000 Vietnamese people from different companies all running for 10 days in the month of September, and sponsoring themselves a small amount, and then their company would sponsor more. And the Up Race generated this happiness. People were happy to run with one heart to save newborn babies, and it created a platform of people who identify with newborns in a way that we could never have achieved just as a small charity. So this year, more than 40,000 Vietnamese people ran for newborns. And that concept has grown. Our British ambassadors, the current and previous ambassadors, have joined in the running, have run 100 kilometers at Mountain Marathon, have cycled great distances. And it's inspired other people to do things.
A very tiny baby was in an intensive situation. She was only 1.1 kilograms when she was born. After 2 months of being cared in the neonatal intensive care unit under Vietnam National Children's Hospital in Hanoi, she can gain 1.4 kilograms and is developing well. Within a day, this unit receives many patients like this. Seeing these tiny babies, actor Kim Lee was very emotional, as he was also a 6-week premature baby when he was born.
Every child should have the chance to have the same opportunities as every other child. Life is so unfair. So when you see kids that are born into difficulties from the start, it's really touching. It makes you think about life. It makes you question, what we do on this earth. It's really upsetting. When you see these kids and you hear that if they had a chance, if they would have been taken care of properly from the start, if their parents would have got the mother would have got the right medical treatment from the beginning, a lot of these complications could have been avoided. It really breaks my heart.
As part of activities to raise funds for Newborns Vietnam, British Ambassador, actor Kim Lee, singer Hồ Ngọc Hà, and others visited the neonatal intensive care unit under Vietnam National Children's Hospital. Hearing about the increasing capacity of doctors and nurses in the unit, seeing their cares to tiny babies, the visit led them think bigger.
Đây là một cái duyên mà đối với Hà là có ý nghĩa nhất. Đây là những bé mà được sinh ra không được mạnh khỏe như thế này thì lần đầu tiên Hà được tiếp xúc và được nhìn thấy tận mắt các bé nhỏ như thế nào và yếu ớt ra làm sao. Và thực sự làm cho Hà cảm thấy là mình cần phải có một cái tiếng nói nhiều hơn nữa, lớn mạnh hơn nữa để giúp cho những ai có những cái tấm lòng hảo tâm người ta hiểu hơn để có thể cùng nhau tạo nên được những cái điều kiện tốt nhất cho các bé, để càng cứu được bao nhiêu bé thì càng thấy hạnh phúc được bấy nhiêu.
Suzanna has brought thousands of British doctors to Vietnam to work with the nurses and doctors here. She's an amazing woman. Newborns is an amazing organisation, and what I love most is seeing Vietnamese doctors and nurses and how passionate they are, how committed they are to making a difference for Vietnamese children and how they want to work with international partners.
In another place in Hanoi,
Eating for Newborns is a fantastic new initiative. Chops are given 10,000 dong for every chop burger sold, so get down to Chops and enjoy.
as a cyclist, the owner of Chops Restaurants launched the program Eating for Newborn to show his care and raise people's awareness to save newborn babies in Vietnam.
So far we've raised about 50 million, and hopefully we can encourage the rest of the Hanoi hospitality scene to maybe inspire them to do something similar.
Newborns Vietnam brings people together to take action for one common purpose, saving newborn lives in Vietnam.
This business is offering extra money whenever you buy a burger. Part of the funding will be going towards newborns. So that's a great model. For me, I like to come and have a burger, but I feel a bit guilty afterwards with all the calories. But if you have a burger and you're contributing to charity, you don't need to feel guilty at all.
Now, Suzanna, it's not easy to organize such, a big event or fundraising campaign that could attract 40,000, 30,000 of people. There must have been a lot of work.
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
I'm just the little catalyst.
And it's not easy to get all of the stakeholders, celebrities, UK ambassadors, enterprises, businesses to join hands with you. So how did you do it?
The babies tell their own story. Mm-hmm. So the inspiration for the up race and all those runners coming together was a very remarkable Vietnamese man who came to cycle, and while the director of the hospital was speaking, he was working out how little equipment they had for the number of babies and how few doctors. And halfway up a big mountain, he spoke to one of our UK cyclists and said, we should be doing more. We're Vietnamese. We should be joining hands to help newborns do more for these small hospitals to help. And it was his inspiration with his good friend, another Vietnamese gentleman from a big company. Mm-hmm. They made the up race happen. The babies gave them the inspiration, and my role is just to help them to make it all happen. So I'm a very small part of what has become a Vietnamese story.
Everybody's working towards the common goal.
It's a shared goal.
Shared goal. Yeah.
But we have different roles.
Right. Yeah. And the shared goal is to prevent babies, newborns from death and decrease the mortality rate. Right.
Neonatal babies, they need a lot of equipment to be transferred. And to do that safely, you have to have the right type of ambulance, you have to have specialist incubators to go in it, and that's all very expensive. But you also have to train the staff to bring the babies. Mm-hmm. So our goal is to develop a safe transport system. So the good work in Vietnam National Children's Hospital or Da Nang Hospital can reach out to all those provincial hospitals, both in training and in safe transport. Yeah. Concept can be rolled out.
Mm-hmm. How much does an ambulance cost?
About $90,000. Yeah. That's without the things to go in it and the staff.
Why do you think focusing on implementing ambulance like that will help solve the existing issue of child mortality?
If you work at the Vietnam National Children's Hospital, you receive babies from many, many provinces. Some of them will travel for 6 or 8 hours or 2 hours. Small, sick babies do not do well if they travel wrapped in a towel with a hot water bottle, having oxygen by hand. It's very difficult to what we call hand ventilate a baby over a long period of time without doing long-term damage to the baby's lungs.
Yeah.
And baby gets cold and gets hypothermia. Hypothermia is very dangerous for small babies and can have a big impact on their long-term brain development. So imagine your baby wrapped in a towel traveling all the way from Dien Bien Phu to Hanoi on a nurse's lap, as opposed to a perfect ambulance with an incubator at the right temperature. The condition of the two babies when they arrive would be very different.
Right.
And if you do damage when the baby is born, it's very difficult to retrieve the situation. And it's almost impossible, however good a doctor you are, to undo that sort of damage when you get to the hospital in Hanoi. So the babies just have much, much better chance, even if they were very sick, if they didn't have to undergo that perilous journey. So it's about giving the doctors that we're training the best possible chance to use their skills for the babies that are transferred to them.
Right. So when will you launch the first ambulance?
Well, hopefully towards the summer of next year. But some of these things are not about money, and it's about the training and the vehicles coming together. So, you know, it would be good to think that next Christmas we were operational. It would be better if it was the summer.
Yeah.
But I have learnt patience in Vietnam.
After stressful working hours, Suzanna often spends time with her idyllic hobbies. Like many others, Suzanna chooses to indulge in her favorite books as a way to distract herself and drain away tensions. Sipping a cup of coffee while immersing herself in an interesting book is a pleasure that seems small but can bring Suzanna extremely relaxing moments. Or we can also easily see Suzanna reveling in choosing her favorite flowers. Behind the great contributions to Vietnamese newborn babies is a doctor with simple pleasures.
So with all of your contribution to neonatal care in Vietnam during the past decade, you received a medal from the Queen.
Yes.
So can you share with us more about this experience?
I personally don't think I have done anything particularly amazing. So to be honoured with a medal from our Queen for my services to neonatal was a shock. I actually found it quite difficult to believe that anything I had done was any merited this honour. To me, this rather beautiful medal.
Yes, it's pink. It's the colour of
the pink is
right?
newborn's colour. So this very beautiful medal.
Yeah.
I don't feel it belongs to me. I feel it belongs to all the nurses, all the doctors, the athletes, the sponsors. It's not mine, it's ours. And I'm very proud to keep it for them.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Suzanna, and I think you deserve this medal. And maybe with this recognition, maybe you can spread the message of neonatal care further and get more people joining hands with you in the journey, upcoming journey.
In the newborns family, the more people who run, cycle, eat burgers, tell the story, the more awareness grows. So that countdown to zero. so 85%,
Right.
you know, boom. So that's our journey. And when we get to 0, the job is done.
Infant mortality is a shadow that lingers over everyone's dream of having children or grandchildren. I hope that we all appreciate the compassion of Suzanna and doctors to assist everyone in the universal aspiration to raise children. It is a love for children that inspired Vietnamese doctors and international experts to overcome barriers of language and distance. And that concludes this edition of Talk Vietnam. Until next time.